Hello and welcome everyone. This is Phoenix with your Patriot Health Report for the weekend of April 12th, 2025. All the health facts you need to know for the Patriot on the go. Hope everyone is doing well. And here we are again, thank goodness, with our primary representative. Well, yeah, I'd say one of the only of the Patriot Health Report. That's Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young. Bob's going to be joining us here in a moment, live from St. Petersburg, Florida. And the topic, as you can see from the title, new breakthroughs in gene therapy and what it means for you. And it's very close to home. If you are a person who buys products from Boomers, especially Myotrol, this is going to be a very interesting conversation, plus all kinds of new breakthroughs and new information. It's exciting times. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get right into the expert here, Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers. Bob, how are you? And number one, thank you for joining us again. And how are things going down there at the headquarters of Boomers Forever Young?
Yes, hello, Phoenix, and thank you. It's going well down here. We're excited to have our Myotrol back in stock, and excited to know that from taking Myotrol, I had the physical capability to work alongside a much younger man in unloading 262 cases of Myotrol off the back of a truck into another truck into the storage room, and work up a really good 2-hour sweat and be able to be back up and at 'em the next morning with no pain, no consequences. And so the Myotrol's here, and it absolutely works.
Very, very good. Good news. Before we get into the topic here, talking about these new changes and all the stuff with genetics, et cetera, and how that relates actually to your product, any news or breakthroughs, updates, anything you want to share with us before we get going on topic?
Yeah, well, I wanted to let people know we have a really good sale that we just put on a couple days ago. And what it is we're giving away a free product when people get their collagen. And what we're giving away is heirloom barley. So when people get the collagen, they're going to get a starter size jar, which is a 50% of the full size jar of their heirloom barley. And this is a $48 value, and we're giving it for free. And there's a reason why we're doing that. And it's like this: when you take in collagen peptides are kind of small molecules that get assembled into larger molecules, and in this case, protein. And there's about 13 different types of collagen. But when you look at collagen and you look at the fact that our bodies make about 100,000 different proteins, a very large percentage of what's being made is collagen, because it's involved with our bones, our joints, our skin, our hair, our nails. And so our body needs to make lots of collagen. And as you age, you make less of it for a couple different reasons. One of which is you don't have as many as you used to of what are called metabolic enzymes. So the collagen are like these little strings, and they need to be, the peptides are these little strings, they need to be configured into an elaborate protein, and the enzymes help to do that. So there's a genetic code, the enzymes come to help as per the code, and they glue these peptides together, and the next thing you know, you have collagen that can make your skin. And this is something that's really only available here, Phoenix. You don't find anybody else who has a product that has collagen peptides with the availability of metabolic enzymes to help facilitate the creation of the end product that ends up helping you. And part of the reason that we have so many great testimonials about our collagen is people take it together with barley and they have those enzymes. And so we decided, in order to let people really get the feeling of what it's like to have collagen with those enzymes, which is a much different experience than just the peptides by themselves, we wanted to give it away for free for a while so everybody had a chance to experience it.
Well, that's very cool. That is amazing too. Something that nobody else is doing. Very vital. You know, collagen. There's been a lot of talk about collagen. People advertise collagen. All of this, and you know what? As we age, people, the skin changes. Like you said, we don't produce enough of it anymore. Nail, hair, skin. Is very, very important, and can keep people looking younger, feeling better, and decrease problems with their skin. Because a lot of people, they get it's like almost like crepe paper skin, very thin, and it's just like not what it was because the skin is not, being reproduced as it was in our youth. So collagen is very vital.
Yeah, and collagen is essential for human beings, as a life form, because we're up and about walking around. We're bipedal beings that are able to walk and then have our hands free for doing stuff. And that's why we can have a baseball game, right? We can run and throw and catch and bat all at the same time. And in order to do that, you have to have a bony structure and you have to have muscle. And you also have to have joints that are healthy that can move. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to swing the bat or throw the ball. And in more practical terms, people can work as a farmer. People can work as a bus driver and do things with joints and bones that you'd never be able to do without collagen. Without collagen, human life would be very, very different. It would be like a blob sitting there thinking without the ability to do much of anything. And not only that, but your skin is protecting you from the outside environment. And as we sit or stand or walk around, we're in an ocean of bacteria that's in the air. And that bacteria is not supposed to be getting into our bodies or into certain parts of our bodies. And it clings to our skin, but our skin keeps it from getting inside of us. And we have more bacteria on the surface of our skin than we have human cells. And so having healthy skin is really critical for life. If you didn't have healthy skin and it became porous, you'd very quickly die from a bacterial infection. And that's why when people cut their skin, right away you want to clean the cut and you want to, put an antibiotic ointment on it. Why is that? Because there's bacteria everywhere. And I had a friend one time, Phoenix, we were playing basketball outside and he fell and hit his elbow on the blacktop on the outdoor court. And he got an infection in that cut on his elbow that became resistant to methicillin. So he ended up with MRSA, which began to spread into his body, and it actually spread to his pets. And he went for multiple rounds of antibiotics to try to get rid of it, and also, with his pets, giving them antibiotics, and they were not getting better. They had a bad case of MRSA. And so this is just an example of what can happen in the most casual of things. We're running around shooting baskets, and the next thing you know, there's a bacterial invasion in this man's arm, right? And so collagen helps our skin to stay very strong. And you can see very easily the veracity of your skin by pinching the skin on the back of your hand and then letting go of it. All right. So I'm doing that right now for my skin. And when I let go of the skin, it goes back to its original shape right away, like very quickly. Right. But I've been taking collagen along with, metabolic enzymes from our barley for many, many years. So my skin still acts as if it was the skin of a 20-year-old. Whereas most people that are my age, if they're not taking collagen and they pinch that skin on the back of their hand, the skin will stay raised for quite a while, sometimes, 30 or 40 seconds before it goes back to lying flat again. And so if you're a person who's, I would say 45 years old or older, do that little test with the skin on the back of your hand and see if it snaps back or if it's kind of lingering in that pinched state. And this could mean that you would benefit from, collagen and some metabolic enzymes.
Wow, I have never heard of that pinch test before. That's pretty good. But yeah, I was doing it myself. I'm sure there were people all over listening right now doing that as they're listening to us. Um,
Yeah.
you know, but I will say before we get rolling on here again, Bob, that you have successfully totally freaked me out and grossed me out early on. I mean, the image of we are swimming in a sea of bacteria. It's all around us. There's more bacteria on your skin than cells in your body. I'm like, oh man, I have too vivid of an imagination sometimes to listen to you, dude. You totally
Yeah.
freak me out almost every
Well,
time. What's one thing or the other?
you just have to make friends with them, Phoenix.
Make friends.
Bacteria have been around for over 2 billion years, and um, about that time, about 2 billion years ago, is when bacteria all of a sudden got the idea that they were no longer just going to make energy for themselves, and that they actually had the ability to make more energy than they needed. And wouldn't it be nice if they attached to some other organism that might need some extra energy? And this started to happen with the assistance of enzymes, and it gave rise to new types of organisms that were being donated energy from bacteria. And now with these enzymes, all of a sudden they could start making more complicated molecules. And this all happened right around 2 billion years ago. And as time went on, those bacteria ended up becoming mitochondria. So in humans, we have about 50 trillion cells, and each cell has between a few and a few hundred mitochondria, which are these little tiny bits that are inside your cell that make our energy. Well, when they analyze mitochondrial DNA, because the mitochondria has its own nucleus and has its own DNA, in addition to what you would call the regular DNA, the the nuclear DNA. And the inside that mitochondrial DNA is very clearly traces of bacterial DNA from times gone by. And in a very real sense, we are somewhere around 70 quintillion bacteria that are in the form of mitochondria inside each one of our cells, producing energy for the benefit of the human organism. And and that's a really generous thing that these bacteria decided to do at God's command, was to begin to donate power to other living things. And we came about capable to produce a vast amount of energy to power a 200-pound man, running across a football field. And it all came originally from those bacteria. And so God's creation is really something that evolved and he created, and at some point, humans emerged. But for a long, long time before that, billions of years, he was creating the building blocks and orchestrating the teams of different life forms that were going to help give rise to his ultimate creation.
It's fascinating, Bob. Something came to mind I'd recently come across concerning bacteria of all things, and it was they were talking about Chernobyl, the great nuclear disaster that happened at Chernobyl during the Soviet Union times of the reactor breach and meltdown, etc., and what happened. And it became a death zone, and no one still lives there around this zone. It's kind of cordoned off. But when they did go in years later and they started investigating, they actually found and did some investigation of like standing pools of water, jars of water, different thing, and they actually discovered, Bob, a form of bacteria that had never been seen before, that had actually adapted, and with their observation and testing, discovered this bacteria had evolved to a point where it actually took in radioactivity, and that is how it thrived. And it would convert the radioactive particles into a non-radioactive substance. They're basically eating radioactivity and making it inert. Now, that's some crazy stuff right there. I mean, we're literally like one cell division away from a really bad Japanese horror movie on this one. But, It's just amazing what God's creation can do. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. There's a couple of other things, Phoenix. When you're talking about making collagen, protein, it's also very important to have vitamin C. And so we decided at the same time that we're giving away the free barley, we would put the vitamin C on sale. So it's 20% off right now. And you can get those three things together for a really great price. You can have this unbelievable collagen making machine that you can start to use. And another thing, we had, in addition to the Myotrol we ran out of, at one point we ran out of a product called Clarity Factor. Really, really great nootropic that's helped a lot of people with focus and concentration and memory. And we got that back in stock. And to help people get restarted on it, we put it on a 10% discount. And in addition to that, most people are putting it onto the auto ship, which gives them 10% and free shipping. And so now that is available as well for people that want to get it. And that's what I wanted to say about what we've been up to, at Boomers. We're constantly thinking about new ways to add value for people, combine things together that can make a big difference. And this is the first time we've ever given away free barley for anything, really. And we decided to do it with collagen. And what we're hoping is that, quite a few hundred people will take advantage of it. And we'll get lots of feedback as to, how they've been doing. And that's really what we want, is to see there's kind of a groundswell of positive things that are happening for people with this combination.
Well, that's very good, Bob. And I was kind of surprised whenever you did say you're giving away free barley. I'm like, what? That's like the gold. It's like you probably have like Rolly in there guarding the barley 24/7. I mean, that's really great product. Yeah. And the fact you're giving it away free is literally unheard of. It really is. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, Phoenix. But way back when barley was first invented, just before the inventor met me, and we started helping him to get it to people, he called it barley gold.
Barley gold, yeah. Well, I can see it, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the value of it. Sometimes when you talk about these things, the movie Dune comes to mind, and spice. The barley must flow, the spice must flow. But anyway, topic today. Unless if you're not finished with all that.
Yep,
I think you're
no,
kind of rolling because it's all related. We're talking about the genetic discoveries that are being made, and this all links back to mitral, everybody. Bob will explain it to you. Um, what do you have to share with us today about the new discoveries in genetics and how it actually affects us right now and in the future potentially?
yeah. So, um, there's so many thousands of researchers around the world that are working in the field of life sciences and also in the field of human disease, human wellness, human potential. And, um, you know, there's a conference I attended not long ago, less than 6 months ago. There's a very famous Wall Street guru whose name is, her name is Kathy Wood. And she's the kind of person that when she speaks, it moves the markets. When she says, hey, this happened, and I think then this is going to happen, then therefore I'm investing in this. They run it on the scrolls of the financial news broadcasts, and it
So
literally
okay,
moves
so
markets.
she is like an economic Oprah. Oprah used to do that. Oprah Winfrey,
Yeah,
she would advertise products on her show, and it would
yeah,
cause a massive uptick in
yeah,
sale. So okay, okay,
yeah. And so she's, the founder of a very large hedge fund that lots of people have their money in, and she invests it for them with her team. And she came to an event I was at of entrepreneurs, and I got a chance to talk to her afterwards. And I told her who I was, what I was doing, and she said, I think that over the next 10 years, the biggest advancements in the world that will have the biggest effect on the world are going to be in the life science field. And here's a woman who made a talk at this conference about artificial intelligence and autonomous vehicles and robots and all the things you see in the news. But in addition, she knew about the research that was going on in the world of health and wellness and disease. And she said, I think the next 10 years, the biggest advancements and the most successful companies will be in the life sciences field. And we're watching in real time as new inventions are coming about that are proving to be true, proving what she said to be true. And just the other day, so today's the 10th, Phoenix. On the 9th of, on the 9th, which was yesterday, there was an article released about a new breakthrough in the field of life science. And the title of the article is Epigenetic Editors Enter Clinical Trials. And so what this means is an editor, of course, is something that can change, either amplify something or silence something in the field of genomics. And epigenetic means that it's outside of the actual gene, a factor that to be considered outside the actual gene that holds the code for life. And so our genes are like a blueprint. And if you were going to build a house, you would purchase a blueprint online for a house you might like, or you would hire an architect to draw you a custom blueprint. And that blueprint would then be given to the construction crew, the construction management company, to begin to assemble this house, to build this house as per the blueprint. And they would have to have workers, and they would have to have lumber, and they would have to have nails and screws and concrete in order to activate that plan that was on that blueprint. Well, a human gene is like a blueprint. It's a set of instructions for the most part, on how to make a specific type of protein. And so the epigenetic aspect is everything that's other than that actual gene. And so that gene, along with the rest of them, are wrapped up in like a protein sheath, like a cellophane wrapper, right? And the gene never really does anything. It just sits there. And it needs to be exposed. Part of that wrapper has to be splayed apart so that that piece of the gene can be transcribed or copied. And when it does, when there's this splaying action, an RNA molecule, facilitated with the ribosome, comes in and makes a copy of this. It's called a transcription. And so it's called transcription RNA. And once this transcription's occurred, now it's almost like you made a Xerox copy of the blueprint to hand it to the construction manager, but the master blueprint stays in the drawer. All right. And so now you've handed over the code, and the RNA is harboring it. And now it needs all these construction materials to make this beautiful protein that's going to become collagen or muscle or heart tissue, brain tissue, et cetera, et cetera. And so what it is that makes it so that that piece of cellophane wrapper gets splayed open, all right, is one of the components of epigenetics. So what is it? Why would that splay itself open to be copied? Because the human body needs 100,000 different proteins made nanosecond by nanosecond in order to constantly regenerate our bodies and to be able to move around and have energy. And so something comes and pings that cellophane wrapper that says, hey, open up this space right here. And there are many different things that can facilitate that. And, some of it originates from sunlight. So vitamin D3, once it gets converted into a steroid hormone, activates a large part of your genome. So it actually is based on a source from the light energy from the sun, is now activating your genome after a metabolism has occurred that rendered this steroid hormone, right? So now it's pinging your DNA, it's splaying it open, they make the copies, and they make all these beautiful proteins. There are other things as well that can do it. And in this article, this epigenetic editor article, it's all based on research that's being done by drug companies that are developing pills that will activate or suppress certain parts of your DNA. And suppressing is very important too, because, for example, if you have a person who is born with muscular dystrophy, all right, what's happening is a particular gene that's only really supposed to be expressed in its fullness while the baby's still in the womb continues to express itself after birth, and it creates a particular inflammatory molecule that inhibits the development of muscle, the proper development of muscle. And so one of the things that's being worked on is an epigenetic editor to quiet that gene in the newborn baby, or even in a person who's been alive for much longer. If they can suppress that gene, they can suppress the disease. And so this is the basic concept of gene editing. What can we figure out that we can either take by mouth, take as a shot, have absorbed through our skin, somehow get into our body so that we can alter our genetic expression from where it currently is into a more positive, more productive, more desirable format, whether it's from an earlier age so that your body acts younger, or is it something we want to suppress that's causing an adult onset genetic disease? And so this new technology that is just now in 2025 is being put into human trials right now by the drug companies, and they're beginning to test it in human beings because they finished their tests in mice and in other primates, and now they're ready. The FDA's granted approval to test these genetic editors, these epigenetic editors, with humans. This is a huge new breakthrough in the evolution of this type of intervention. It's been known about for 20 years, but it was never able to be used because there were certain breakthroughs that had to happen in various other areas of life science in order to actually be able to edit a gene without damaging a different gene that you probably don't want to be edited. All right. And so when they use the original technology to do gene editing, and they were using a technology called CRISPR to actually cut out parts of a gene and in some ways repair it also, but it was not that accurate, and sometimes they would accidentally cut the wrong gene. But now with this new technology, it's much, much, much safer to use. It's easier to target, and it's not as final, meaning when you edit a gene with the new technology, it doesn't actually cut it and destroy it. It temporarily allows it to be expressed or to or to be silenced. And and so even if it's off by a little bit and the wrong gene gets hit and expressed or silenced, it's the technology is only meant to last for a very short period of time. And so if there's an issue, they can easily notice it and correct it. And that's why it takes time sometimes for people that take certain products that are acting like these editors. It takes time to build up the intervention onto the receptor portion of that gene in order for it to work properly. And so that's why you hear sometimes people say, well, you're not going to feel anything for a couple of weeks, right? Well, that's one explanation why people wouldn't feel something for a couple of weeks. It's the technology was designed to be safe, and so it doesn't work right away. Sometimes it does, but not always. And so another big area, Phoenix, that's being tested right now, they already started the trial over in England, is they're testing this for hepatitis B. And there are a lot of people that get hepatitis B. They don't know how they got it, where they got it, but they have it. And you can live perfectly healthy with it, but you can't donate blood ever if you have hepatitis B. And later on in life, it can cause damage, to your liver. Not nearly as bad as hepatitis C or D, but they have a new editing technology for hepatitis D as well that's being tested in this trial. And they're pretty sure that at the end of this trial, based on what they saw in their other research, that they essentially are going to have a cure for hepatitis B and D. And it's extremely exciting because it's just the very first thing that they're testing it on. But they'll be able to test it on all other types of things. They'll be able to test it to see what happens with the flu. They'll be able to see what happens with autoimmune deficiency syndrome and other pathogenic, caused diseases, and many other things too. We mentioned, about muscular dystrophy. They already know the exact gene that they want to suppress, and they've already tested it in other animals, and and it worked perfectly. And so you're right now just on the cusp of the discovery of a cure for muscular dystrophy. And this is what's so exciting about this new technology. Now, here's the thing also that is really, really valuable to know. In the plant kingdom, you have many, many millions of different kinds of plants and many millions of different molecules that are in these plants. There's been research going on now for over a decade that is identifying specific compounds in specific plants. For example, resveratrol that is in a, a, a grape, right? And they can extract that resveratrol. And they now know when people take resveratrol, they know exactly which gene is being edited by that resveratrol molecule, because the molecules in plants are very highly effective and attracted to various genes in the human body. And they have now started to build a very extensive map of plant compounds and which genes they affect. Right? Now, having a plant compound to affect a gene on its surface seems like it wouldn't be as effective as these targeted technologies that the drug companies are using. And to a certain extent, that's true. But there are other aspects in the life sciences that have given rise now to the capability of delivering these plant extracts by mouth, whether it's a dropper bottle with some liquid in it or a gel cap. And the compounds in these pills are able to go right into the nucleus and activate very specific genes and sets of genes that are in part of your DNA. And it pierces that protein sheath and splays it open and has a very calculated, very definitive effect on your physical body and your physical health with this new technology. And so it's a parallel technology in the world of nutraceuticals that's paralleling the other technology of epigenetic editors, and they're happening at the same time. And so the reason we know about this, Phoenix, is that's what myotrol is. Myotrol is the very first discovery and creation of a plant-derived epigenetic editor. And it's not just one, it's a combination of multiple plant extracts that have been purified, the solubility has been changed, and it's been settled into a carrier, a mid-chain triglyceride carrier. And these plant extract compounds that are very pure and they're naturally occurring are what's activating people's genes now that are taking these myotrol pills. And thus, at the very beginning of the show, I told you, I helped to unload this truck. And without taking a product like myotrol that was activating my genome to perform as if it was much, much younger, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have been kind of moving along at a very slow, steady pace to kind of keep up with the amount of energy I really had and the strength that I had. But instead, with this new technology that is being pioneered by Eric Kurtz, I was able, just with a snap of a finger, to move into action as if I was that 16-year-old again that's working on a farm, baling hay, working in the fields all day long without getting tired. And that's the genius of these scientists that are now in this field of plant-derived, purified compounds that act as epigenetic editors.
Very cool. Yeah, I tell you what, the testimonies from about Mitrol and its effectiveness are amazing.
Yeah, yeah, we have hundreds of them now, and I'll tell you if I can find one actually. Yeah, it's let's see. Yeah, this was I'm remembering that there was one right on this page, the Myotrol page, that it was very interesting. Just gonna see. Oh yeah, here we go. So this lady sent us a picture of herself, and she said, Myotrol has helped me come back from a very difficult time, feeling almost like a little old lady, to feeling like I'm in my 30s. I've gone from 63 years old to 36 years young. It's restoring my stamina and my hope. Thank you. I'm feeling very grateful. And she sent us a picture of herself, and she's definitely not looking 63 years old, that's for sure. But we have all kinds of testimonials like this that have come in from people that were getting old and crumbly before their time, or maybe even in their time, 85, 90 years old, one man 91 years old, sending us in testimonials saying, hey, I'm back up and about. So, you know, there's there's been movies, that have been made about people that are, you know, have the potential to live forever. There's one called Forever Young, where an elixir was discovered that people were taking and they were de-aging by about 40 or 50 years. And then it was all about the trials and tribulations of having that occurred and living in the society. There was a movie called The Age of Adeline, who's a woman that whose car was submerged in water in an accident, and lightning struck her car, and it somehow de-aged her and gave her the ability to live forever. And she watched her daughter die of old age later in the movie. So imagine, all the scenes and scenarios you could come up with if people really had immortality, but other people didn't have immortality, right? But in a very real sense now, you would think if someone said, "Oh yeah, my 90-year-old grandpa, he's been homebound for the last 3 years, and he just gets up to go to bed and go to the bathroom off of the couch, and we have to help him. But he started taking these pills, and now he's back up and about working on the farm again." All right. First off, people aren't going to believe it. Or if they did, they'd go, "Was this a movie? Is this something in a sci-fi movie?" Well, it's not actually. This epigenetic editing is very real. It's been not only discovered, but it's been perfected, and it's being used right now in the world of plant science, and it's about to be used this year, 2025, in the medical world, the world of Western medicine and um, you know clinical medicine. And so, as happens many times, you know, um, plants turn out to be the forerunner to later to come medicines, right? It's like digitalis, originally they was discovered that people could use it as heart medicine in its plant form, right? And then it's like, oh, what is it? Oh, there's digitalis in this plant, this foxglove, and so we're going to extract it and use it as medicine. And many of today's pharmaceutical drugs were derived from the plant kingdom. And this is another case where in this immensely exciting world of epigenetic editing, once again, the plant scientists, the plant kingdom, has launched the primary um, finished product, the primary interventions that people can take advantage of right now. And in the case of Myotrol, it doesn't only help you build muscle and stamina like it does, but it does for everybody. It does that pretty much, but also your energy level, which is huge because when you're exercising, and exercise has so many benefits for you, but when you're exercising, you need a lot of energy. You need a lot of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is made in your mitochondria, right? Those little bacteria from 2 billion years ago, they're making this molecule of energy. And when you exercise, you need a lot of it. And so your body ramps up the production when you're exercising. And that energy allows you to build muscle and to perform tasks. And so that's like that occurs. But in addition, whatever else you need energy for, in addition to exercise, getting up and feeling refreshed in the morning, getting your to-do list done, working all day, still having energy to go out at night. So at 5 o'clock, you don't drag yourself home and collapse on the couch and watch Gunsmoke, right? And so that's extremely valuable. But in addition to that, there's a molecule of motivation called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, that is the bridging signal between a thought and a movement. So if you're sitting on your couch and you're going, wow, I really should get up and go for a walk here after dinner. I just kind of ate too much, and I know I always feel better if I go take a walk, but I'm feeling very sluggish. I'm not going to do it, right? If you had more BDNF available in your bloodstream at that moment, you would actually take action. And that BDNF says, okay, here's a thought and here's our movement. And it's this bridge to the movement. And it's an amplifier to the movement. And when you take Myotrol, by purposeful design, it upregulates your production and amplifies your production of brain-derived neurotropic factor. And people begin to experience a whole newfound sense of motivation and energy and desire to do the things that they know they should do and to move forward and do things they really want to do without having to feel tired or frozen in place.
Very cool. I tell you what, it's amazing that this is available right now. Right now, and it is back in stock. And, you know, all this talk about these changes, what we're looking at, what science is doing, this decoding of the genome and being able to pair it to things that actually grow naturally in our environment that have these effects. It's absolutely amazing, Bob. I mean, we're talking about something here that even just 10 years ago was unheard of.
Yeah, yeah. But you can now, even now, you can look, you know, in the National Library of Medicine, right, and find articles about the influence of bioactive compounds in your diet on gene expression and regulation, and with diagrams of exactly how it works and lists of all the different components, whether it's just simple things like, you know, like carotene or carnitine or DHA, and which genes it acts upon, and whether it's upregulating or methylating and downregulating. And with references to the whole thing, you can see the scientific studies on it. Now that's all well and good. This is a report, this is this, and you know, this might help with this, that, and the other thing. But it's not a precisely designed set of compounds that act in a sequence to create a desired event, because very little happens in the human body that is one thing happening, one metabolic interaction. right? Humans are a very complex web of metabolic pathways. This becomes this becomes this becomes this. And just itself, in those little tiny mitochondria, right? There's a cycle that occurs called the Krebs cycle that results in the production of ATP. And there's 30 different points of process in there where this compound gets added to by this and it becomes this, and then gets added to by this, becomes this. And they have the whole thing is diagrammed, right? And when you study, cell biology, that's one of the things people learn about is the whole process in the Krebs cycle. And so that's just one of many, many metabolic pathways in the human body. So when you're a scientist designing a pill that's going to help people have more energy and build muscle and maintain their muscle and have more brain-derived nootropic factor, each of those aspects has its own metabolic pathway. And so you have to attend to the metabolic pathway. And there are many aspects in the pathway where there needs to be a balance of two different compounds that are produced in the pathway. And you need to know which gene to activate that balances those two. So it's a very, very complex, very sophisticated type of science that is it's the purview of a very small select group of geniuses that know how to do these things, right? And it's brand new. Myotrol was released in 2024, and the very first epigenetic editors that the pharmaceutical companies are going to trial, which will take 2 or 3 years, is happening in 2025. And so this is right here on the weekend of the 12th of April of 2025. We're right now sitting not in the midst, but at the very beginning, the very first steps on the journey of this phenomenal aspect of human life that we're going to watch unfold over the next 10 years and likely result in a cure for almost every disease that can be, witnessed. And that's what the scientists are saying, how excited they are. The reason they're starting with muscular dystrophy and hepatitis B is because they understand it really well. They know the whole genetic aspect of it and what the pathways are and what they have to do to upregulate this and downregulate this. And that's why they're starting there, because they want to prove to the world that it can be done, and that this new world, this whole brand new category of medicine and wellness is actually viable. And so we're going to see what happens to these people. Do they become completely cured of hepatitis B with these new epigenetic editors?
Oh, very cool. I tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see. What do you anticipate, Bob? I mean, things have moved so quickly. What is out there? You always tell us things that have been done, things that, they're currently working on. Do you think there's anything else out there? What do you anticipate we will see with all this technology?
Well, it's, there's two parts to it. One is there's general health. There's a general way that people can stay relatively healthy, right? That can slow their rate of aging and kind of make it unlikely that they're going to get an adult onset genetic disease. And therefore, they're going to live in a very healthy state to maybe 90 years old, 100 years old. And then they'll have a very short period where they start to decline. And then they're going to die at that age, at 90 years old. And there's a lot of people that have done that already. Most people don't, though. 99% of the people don't age that way. They age poorly mostly because of their lifestyle, what they eat, the exercise they don't do, and the stress that they have, and the environmental toxins make it so that they don't age that way. The typical person by the time they're 60 is starting to get adult onset diseases, and they need knee replacements, and they need heart surgery, and they need this and this and this and this and this, right? We already have the interventions at Boomers Forever Young to deal with that, right? To deal with that aspect of aging. So if you want to age until you're 90 and be super healthy, we can do that. And Myotrol was a big advancement in that because it goes together really well with the other products that we have, like our Gladiator Barley and Boomer Boost, etc., and our probiotics and lignans. But then there's this whole other side, in the future where there are things that happen to people as you age at the genetic level where you get excessive methylation based on where you live. So someone like me who lives in the Tampa area, we get more methylation than others because it's a port town, right? And so what if one of my genes that was expressing for a particular healthy aspect got really methylated? Well, now you're going to be able to have one of these editors that'll be in the form of a pill or a liquid that you'll take, and you'll take it, and that specific aspect will be dealt with, right? And so this is, this specific type of epigenetic editing going forward with specific areas of your life that you'll be able to literally erase a problem that you have, and you'll be able to move forward in a very healthy way. And so a lot more people are going to be able to live in a super healthy way all the way until they're, in their 90s, 100 and beyond. And then from there, we'll see what happens, with expanding the maximum lifespan for human beings. Will we be able to stretch it past 117 years old into 130s, 140s, a couple hundred years old? And will these technologies be able to do that?
Fascinating. I think they may. We're getting close to the end of the hour here, and we're going to have to wrap this up. Fascinating topic. There's so much that can happen with this, and you did say one thing there a moment ago that I've often said many times. People are like, oh my goodness, I need to get in better shape. I need to lose weight. I don't need to eat this. If I change this diet, if I eat this and not this. Many times it's not what we eat or what we don't eat. It's what we don't do. Get up, move it, exercise. You got to do it, people. You have to do it. And Bob's products, the Myotrol and the Boomers and Barley will give you that energy needed to move it or lose it. Because if you don't move it, you're going to lose it. Fact. I mean, it's a combination thing. And again, sometimes it's not what you eat, drink, or whatever. It's what you don't do. And exercise is so important. You can start out easy. Need advice on that? If you haven't moved, you can give Bob a call. You can actually give him a call, his staff, and, they wealth of information, ideas, and all types of assets that they can help you with. Well, this is a fascinating topic, Bob. We have a couple minutes here before we roll out. How about this? How about you give us all the contact information so people can reach out to you, find you, speak to you, your staff. And with that being said, you can go to patriotintelreport.com, everyone. Look at the lady in the blue lightning storm on the left-hand side. Click on that. Takes you right to Bob's stuff. But he has other contact information a little closer in there. And also, after you do that, how about some closing thoughts on this topic? I'll wrap it up for us. on this really, really good topic we've been discussing, and your final words of wisdom, if you would, sir.
Sure, Phoenix. Yeah, so people can give us a call. We have an 800 number that is 861-4609. And you can call Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern time. And we answer the phones then. If you call after hours and you leave a message, we'll call you back. The next day. You can even leave a message on the weekend if you want. We'll call you back on Monday morning. And if you're in the neighborhood and want to stop by, we're on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, halfway between the beach and downtown at 5401 Central. Call ahead of time to make sure that I'll be here, and I'll be happy to meet up with you when you come by. And then, of course, you can make your way to our website by going to patriotintelreport.com. And on the top left corner of that website is a box that looks like there's a picture of a lady in a blue lightning storm. And if you click on the lady in the blue lightning, it'll bring you right over to the Boomer website. And there's all kinds of blogs and podcasts there. All the testimonials are there. And the different products, if you want to get Myotrol, it's in stock. You can get it right off the website now. If you want to try the product that we've been talking about, this first off, epigenetic editor that was created by Eric Kurtz, and you want to see our interview with Eric and describing how he did it, just make your way over to the site and you can see all that. And what I would say in closing is the same type of idea, Phoenix. This new field of life science of editing the epigenome as opposed to editing an actual gene, which can be dangerous, but editing the epigenome that dictates which gene is going to be expressed, right? This is a fascinating new field, and the first ever of these products is out, that was developed with the new computer systems, the AI, the extraction systems, etc., is now out. It's been out since 2024. We at Boomers Forever Young are the sole provider of that product, and we're right here live in action on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg. Our fulfillment center is right here. While we were talking, I heard our doorbell ring. That was the mailman coming with his truck to pick up all the packages. A lot of Myotrol going out today, and you can come by and visit us and see and touch and feel the real deal, and get get your Myotrol, your Gladiator barley, and experience what it feels like, just like the lady in the testimonial, right, who was having a really, really bad time. And now she feels 30 years younger and getting her life back together and her hope back, as she said. This is very real now. There's no hype needed. There's no flashy marketing campaigns with flashy slogans needed. It's actual real science that's done. It's available, and already hundreds of people have taken the effort to send us testimonials about it.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, Bob, I appreciate it very much. And before we do roll out of here, I did have one more question about gene therapy and alteration and all that that could possibly help me. I have a pair of Levi's, and they're like maybe an inch or so too long. Do you think gene therapy could help me with that?
You mean make you longer?
Make me longer. No, make my jeans shorter.
Taller, I mean? Taller?
No, alter my jeans. I
thought if you got taller, then they would be just the right length.
Well, touche. There you go. So, many a truth said in jest. Many a truth said in jest. You never know what's going to happen in science in the future. Literally, like Bob's been talking about. But Bob, fascinating topic. It's happening again, like Bob said, in science fiction or theory. It's happening right now, and I encourage everyone. If you have more questions about it, click on the website, check it out, give Bob a call, and if you've been listening and wondering, hey, dive in, try it, And there's nothing like your personal experience. I mean, you can read all the reviews, etc., but once you feel it, you know it, and you're living it. But anyway, Bob, thank you so much for taking the time to do this like you do every couple weeks. Always fascinating. We always learn things, and it's just really, really good. I really appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure, Phoenix. I'll look forward to our next time.
As will I, and I know our listeners will too. So that is it, everybody. Your Patriot Health report for this week. And we hope to have you back next time we broadcast again. And until the next Patriot Health report, everyone, remember, without your health, you have nothing. Until the next one, God bless, and Phoenix and Bob out.